Welcome back, everyone, to the spooky... You're not saying anything.
I know, because I'm just like awestruck by your face.
What do you mean?
Nothing, dude.
What's wrong with my face?
Well, I mean, where do you want to start? So, welcome back to a spooky Halloween episode.
Creepy.
So creepy. James isn't wearing a mask at the moment.
Yeah.
He's just looks the same. He's had some plastic surgery done.
And a bit of a bad hair day. But
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. So we thought that today we'd shake it up a little bit. We're not actually going to have a discussion about spooky things. What we are going to do is we have found a lengthy creepypasta each, a Nintendo-themed creepypasta, and we are going to read them out to each other in a spooky way.
Yeah. It's like a little campfire story thingy. You know what I mean?
Are you going to wear the mask for the whole thing?
No, God, no.
Because your voice is really muffled.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh,
James!
Oh, dude.
Buddy.
Come back.
Buddy.
What are we doing?
Well, I just said what we're doing. So we're going to still be reacting to each other, but what we're going to do is we're going to dim the lights and we're going to flick on something a bit more sinister for the reading. So if you're not watching this episode, this might be a good one to watch. We've also obviously got some Halloween decorations around the place to celebrate the holiday a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about having some creepy music maybe in the background.
Absolutely.
So for listeners, that might help set the scene a little bit.
Yeah.
Set the mood a little.
It'll still be a good listen, but you should check this one out on YouTube as well. Cause this one, I hope it looks cool. We haven't really road tested the red lights, so I guess we'll see.
Guess we'll find out.
But we're going to jump straight into the creepypastas now. So hope you enjoy and stay spooked.
See you then.
See you then.
Yeah.
We're just going to cut to it.
Yeah, sweet. Okie dokie, so the first story of today/tonight is, whenever you're listening to it, is Pokemon Creepy Black. Ooh, spooky. It's creepy. Alrighty. I'm what you would call a collector of bootleg Pokemon games. Pokemon Diamond and Jade, Chaos Black, etc. It's amazing the frequency with which you can find them at pawn shops, Goodwill, flea markets and such. They're generally fun, even if they are unplayable. In brackets, which they often are. The mistranslations and poor quality make them unintentionally humorous. I've been able to find most of the ones that I've played online, but there's one that I haven't seen any mention of. I bought it at a flea market about 5 years ago. Here's a picture of the cartridge. I'm going to skip that. The game started with the familiar Nidorino and Gengar intro of Red and Blue version. However, the press start screen had been altered. Red was there, but the Pokemon did not cycle through. It also said black version under the Pokemon logo. Upon selecting new game, the game started the Professor Oak speech, and it quickly became evident that the game was essentially Pokemon Red version. After selecting your starter, if you looked at your Pokemon, you had, in addition to Bulbasaur, Charmander or Squirtle, another Pokemon. And it just says Ghost in capital letters. The Pokemon was level 1. It had the sprite of the ghosts that are encountered in Lavender Town before obtaining the Sylph Scope. It had one attack, Curse. I know that there is a real move named Curse, but the attack did not exist in Generation 1, so it appears it was hacked in. Defending Pokemon were unable to attack Ghost. It would only say they were too scared to move. When the move Cursed was used in battle, the screen would cut to black. The cry of the defending Pokemon would be heard, but it was distorted, played at a much lower pitch than normal. The battle screen would then reappear, and the defending Pokemon would be gone. If used in a battle against a trainer, when the Pokeballs representing their Pokemon would appear in the corner, they would have one fewer Pokeball. The implication was that the Pokemon died.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude. What's even stranger is that after defeating a trainer and seeing Red received $200 for winning, the battle commands would appear again. If you selected Run, the battle would end as it normally does. You could also select Curse. If you did, Upon returning to the overworld, the trainer sprite would be gone. Ooh.
It's got chills, dude.
Yeah, dude. After leaving and re-entering the area, the spot where the trainer would have been would be replaced with a tombstone, like the ones at Lavender Tower. The move Curse was not usable in all instances. It would fail against ghost Pokemon. It would also fail if it was used against trainers that you would have to face again, such as your rival or Giovanni. It was unusable in your final battle against them, however. I figured this was the gimmick of the game, allowing you to use the previously uncapturable ghosts. And because Curse made the game so easy, I essentially used it throughout the whole adventure. The game changed quite a bit after defeating the Elite Four. After viewing the Hall of Fame, which consisted of ghosts and a couple of Pokemon I used for HMs, the screen cut to black. A box appeared with the words, "Many years later." It then cut to Lavender Tower. An old man was standing, looking at tombstones. You then realized this man was your character. Ooh. The man moved at only half of your normal walking speed. You no longer had any Pokemon with you, not even Ghost, who up to this point had been impossible to remove from your party through depositing in the PC. The overworld was entirely empty. There were no people at all. There were still the tombstones of the trainers that you used Curse on, however. Ooh. You could go pretty much anywhere in the overworld at this point, though your movement was limited by the fact that you had no Pokemon to use HMs. And regardless of where you went, the music of Lavender Town continued on an infinite loop. After wandering for a while, I found that if you go through Dicklet's cave, one of the cuttable bushes that normally blocks the path on the other side is no longer there, allowing you to advance and return to Pallet Town. Upon entering a house and going to the exact tile where you start the game, the screen would cut to black. Then a sprite of a Caterpie appeared. It was then replaced by a Weedle and then a Pidgey. I soon realized, as the Pokemon progressed from Rattata to Blastoise, that these were all of the Pokemon that I had used Curse on. Ooh. After the end of my rivals team, a youngster appeared, and then a bug catcher. These were the trainers I had cursed. Throughout the sequence, the Lavender Town music was playing, but it was slowly decreasing in pitch. By the time your rival appeared on screen, it was a little more than a demonic rumble. Another cut to black. A few moments later, the battle screen suddenly appeared. Your trainer sprite was now that of an old man, the same one as the one who teaches you how to catch Pokemon in Viridian City. Oh. Ghost appeared on the other side, along with the words, "Ghost wants to fight." You couldn't use items, and you had no Pokemon. If you tried to run, you couldn't escape. The only option was fight. Using fight would immediately cause you to use struggle, which didn't affect Ghost, but did chip off a bit of your own HP. When it was Ghost's turn to attack, it would simply say ... Eventually, when your HP reached a critical point, Ghost would finally use Curse.
Oh my god.
The screen cut to black a final time. Regardless of the buttons you pressed, you were permanently stuck in this black screen. At this point, the only thing you could do was turn the Game Boy off. When you played again, New Game was the only option. The game had erased the file. I played through this hacked game many times, and every time the game ended with this sequence. Several times I didn't use Ghost at all, though he was impossible to remove from the party. In these cases, it did not show any Pokemon or trainers and simply cut to the climatic battle with Ghost. I'm not sure what the motives were behind the creator of this hack. It wasn't widely distributed, so it was presumably not for monetary gain. It was very well done for a bootleg. It seems he was trying to convey a message, though it seems I am the sole receiver of this message. I'm not entirely sure what it was. The inevitability of death? The pointlessness of it? Perhaps he was simply trying to morbidly inject death and darkness into a children's game. Regardless, this children's game has made me think, and it has made me cry. The end.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Holy crap.
That's some creepy shit.
I've never heard that before.
I think I might have heard of it like once, but not the whole thing.
The final bit of him like being an old man and walking very slowly around a closed overworld, like a desolate overworld, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
But like Yeah, that's fucked, dude.
That's pretty
That's
scary.
no good. I kept glancing over at the skeleton while you were telling that story.
It's like it was like moving ever so slightly every time you looked back at it.
Oh, it feels like it was, dude.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, nice one.
Nice. Did that get you a little scary?
Yeah,
Did that
I'm a little spooked now.
I get the hair standing up a little on your arms.
Just a touch, dude. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you can top that?
I think I can.
Oh, all right. Let's do it.
Okay, so this one is Ben Drowned, which is a very well-known
infamous.
Zelda creepypasta.
Yeah.
Let's go. I hope I do it justice.
I'm sure you
Just
will.
as a note as well, there are 4 different posts on this creepypasta wiki.
Yeah.
Of Ben Drowned, like from the same original author. I'm only reading the first one because
easy.
they are lengthy, and the first one is where the bulk of it is anyway.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, I need your help with this.
Okay.
This is not copypasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all these old games of my youth that I hadn't touched at least in a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. What a brag. That weekend I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, Fuck Yeah, in brackets, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2.
Yeah.
Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars, and only one table was set up with random junk on it, but something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there weren't other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it.
What does that say?
Well, it just means it's like glazed over.
Oh, like a donut.
Yeah.
Nice.
I forced myself to look in his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back towards the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came for the last one, I realized that it looked almost like Majora's Mask, the same heart-shaped body with spikes protruding outward. Initially, I thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself onto the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterwards, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length from me, smiling at me. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me an N64 cartridge. It was the standard grey colour, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realised what a coincidence this was, and I asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was my age who didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how that man phrased it, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there was no guarantee it would work, but then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file simply named Ben.
Ooh.
"Goodbye, Ben," he was saying.
Ooh.
"Goodbye, Ben." I felt bad for the man. obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that they were pretty far into the game. He had almost all the masks and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I noticed he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was a shame that he could come so close to beating the game and never finish it. I made a new file named Link, out of tradition, and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. I should check in the time.
Nice.
For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed by how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was at times the NPC would call me Link, but at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while, and it was around after I'd beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. And then in brackets, I had intended to preserve the file out of respect to the game's original owner. It's not like I needed to anyway. Hoping that it would somehow solve the problem. It did and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything, where my name should be in the dialogue was just a blank space. Frustrated, and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those of you who don't, you can Google it. I like that.
Nice.
But the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 0 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you're doing. Deciding to do the glitch and try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time encounter at the bottom of the screen disappeared.
Nice.
However, when I pressed the B button to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room right at the end of the game, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy, immediately made my palms begin to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on the screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get a room key for Anju at the Stockpot Inn, but why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was not some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid it was. To even think someone could reprogram a game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen, and again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes or no? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, when I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words, Dawn of a New Day, and the subtext, and then it's just a string of lines beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear that I've ever experienced. The only way that I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I'm not normally a depressed person, what a brag.
Yeah.
But the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do when you start day 1, only to find that all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt I was personally in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up so as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did. and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was hearing things, but loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I'd never felt so alone before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Dude's just bragging all over the place.
I don't like this guy.
Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried to leave Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone to another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or the Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far, but nothing happens." By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt I would be too vulnerable there with whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link. Me with the Skull Kid scream playing in the background. And when the scream returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song of the Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with the haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran back into South Clocktown, and to my horror, the fucking statue followed me in the only way I can compare is like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who.
Dude.
The grammar in this is really bad.
Yeah.
Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or, I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. The expletives really make it too. I really like it. Oopsie, lost it. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make these weird animations I'd never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy mask salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with the statue once more. I ended up running to the Swordmaster's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one. But as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused, and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo terrified. The game suddenly walked me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue appeared behind me, this time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would summon behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in South Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, I suddenly a re-dead screamed, and the screen faded to Dawn of a New Day again.
A re-what?
A re-dead, dude.
Okay, yeah.
The screen faded in and I was standing on top of Clock Tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. But the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. There's a lot of unnecessary swearing.
Yeah.
A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed and he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I'd never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself doesn't even have moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force and immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, that all there was eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time before I could hit the last note. But before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, I was in the exact same scene as the first 3 times, except this Link was laying on the ground, dead in a position that I've never seen in the game before, his head tilted towards the camera, the Skull Kid hovering above him. I couldn't move. I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did was return to the clock tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kid laughing, looping quietly again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted back up, there was one more save file added. Below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple with the moon almost crashing. I turned off the game at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up even for me. I haven't played it all today. Hell, I even haven't had any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head, and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clock Tower Town. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine, no way I was going in alone, only to find that there is a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the doorbell, no one was home. So now I'm back here writing this with the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if this has some grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game. Even more so that reliving it a second time writing all of this down, but I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye, and there's something calling me to investigate further. I think Ben is something in this equation, and I don't know what, and if I could get a hold of the old man, then I'd be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It has already taken a toll on my sanity. But the next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you can see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the Elegy statue, on YouTube here. And then there's a link.
Nice.
I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while longer. I'm going to stay in this thread a little while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow and see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is all a little fucked up, and maybe this Ben is just a really good hacker or programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't.
Are you feeling spooked yet? Are you feeling a little spooked?
Reading that was spooky. It felt spooky. It's, yeah.
That's still going. Okay, sweet.
I was just looking at the waveforms on the laptop.
Yeah, it's just like a long stream of views.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
fuck.
Yeah, I'm like chills, dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard like the Song of Healing or any of that in reverse, but I imagine that would be a little terrifying.
Majora's Mask just already has such a creepy vibe about it too. Like, that game already freaks me out enough.
Yeah.
And the image of, like, the drowned Link of Ben, like...
Yeah.
I fucking hate him.
I've seen it so many times now. It just, like, creeps me out every time.
It still scares me.
I think the mask seller scares me more.
Oh, he's just always terrifying, no matter what.
Yeah. Even, like, in Ocarina of Time, he's just a little... something odd about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
freaks me the fuck out, dude.
Well, are you ready for another... creepy tale?
Sure, hit me with another creepy tale.
All right, let me get it up first.
Bring us home with the spookiest one yet.
Well, I don't know if this will be the spookiest one yet, but hey, we'll give it a go. Okay, this one is called Yoshi's Curse. Ooh, spooky. You,
Okay.
you know I love Yoshi, so that's good.
Yeah. Let's see if this can top drowned Ben.
Drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. I am a huge Mario fan. That's the start of the text, not just me
Oh, I
saying
thought you were just saying it. I was like, okay.
I'm a huge Mario fan, but there's one character I've always loved, Yoshi. Okay, I swear to God, this is the start of the... I had almost all the old Yoshi games from Yoshi's Cookie to Yoshi's Island. My house burnt down recently.
Did you
I
write
didn't
this?
write this.
Did you
I
write
swear to God, I
this?
didn't write this.
Okay. My neighbor's house burnt down recently.
Oh, God. All right. My house burnt down recently, and all I had left was all of my Yoshi memorabilia in it. That sounds about right.
You've got one box to grab at the fire, and you grab the box of Yoshi
Okay,
memorabilia.
real quick. I'll continue with the story in a sec. But after the house next door burnt down, like when I went back the next day, we had to obviously move all our shit out. The first thing I went to grab was my 64.
Valid though.
I grabbed all my, like the 64, Super Nintendo, and then all my Pokemon cards.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway,
Yeah, let's keep going.
so all I had left was my Yoshi memorabilia in it. At the time, I was very pissed off. On my day off, I went to an auction and came across a Yoshi's Island game with a Super Nintendo. Nobody seemed to want it, so I was lucky to get it for $5.
Oh,
That's a steal.
that is great.
As I was leaving though, a man walked up to me and said the game was evil and that I should destroy it. I just ignored him and passed him. As I did though, he said, "Beware of Yoshi's curse."
Ooh.
I got in my car and went to my house right away to play my new Yoshi's Island game. I chose a new file and began to play the game. There was only one world on the map. I chose the world and chose the first stage. A text box appeared stating, "If you start this game, you won't escape. Do you still want to continue?" Curious, I chose yes. Just then though, I heard a door slam. I shrugged it off because it was windy outside, and that happens when you leave a window open. The game loaded, and the first thing that was off was that baby Mario wasn't on Yoshi's back. The second thing that caught my eye is that the Yoshi was pale, almost ghost white. It seemed very aggravated at first. The stage was a flat, dark level. As I progressed, the Yoshi seemed to get less aggravated and started to become scared. Occasionally, I heard screams of Yoshis and baby Mario in the background. After a while, I started to see Yoshi corpses scattered around the stage. The screen went black, and a low demonic laugh started. Then stage 2 began, and the level was called Runaway. Ooh. Yoshi appeared, and a black shadow began to follow him at lightning fast speeds. I ran and ran, but no matter how much I ran, he still caught me. I saw Yoshi in a corridor, similar to Baby Bowser's castle, and I started to run through the level when I saw a horrific sight. Yoshi's hung by steel chains, burn marks, cuts, and gashes. They were killed in so many ways that I felt sick to my stomach. That makes me feel sick to my stomach.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I kept telling myself that it was just a game. A part of me wanted to stop playing and destroy the game. The other half wanted to get revenge on whoever did this to all of these innocent creatures. My mind was made up. I needed to find out who caused all of this. I saw a door and went inside of it. I stood in Baby Bowser's playroom. I moved and saw the green Yoshi eating Baby Mario and Luigi. Fuck. I also saw Baby Bowser's bones laying in a pile in the corner of the room, covered in bits and pieces of flesh and blood on the floor. The green Yoshi stood up and started to beat my Yoshi to a bloody pulp. Damn, dude. I felt so bad for my Yoshi because I had no control of him. The green Yoshi ended it very quickly and proceeded to eat the pale Yoshi. After a minute or two, he stopped. He looked at me with blank eyes and a blank expression. Then he said, "You have brought this on yourself. I will always haunt your dreams and life." Then the system shut itself off. When will it end? No matter how much I try, I can't destroy the cartridge. He haunts me day and night, day after day after day. The cartridge always appears in my room, ready to play.
Holy crap. Dude, that was spooky.
That was
actually.
pretty spooky.
Oh my
Dude, the
God.
Yoshi committing cannibalism?
Oh my God.
Dude.
No, I don't. Okay, I'm done with this podcast now.
You're done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Was that too spooky for you?
I'm spooked out of my mind, buddy.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I gotta go to sleep tonight.
You're not going to sleep.
I'm not going to sleep.
It's definitely not
I
happening.
will haunt your nightmares.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's not a funny joke.
Should we cut to the outro?
Let's cut to the outro. Alrighty, well, I hope you guys enjoyed all those creepy stories,
Yeah,
those creepy pastas.
My timbers have been shivered.
My pants are now damp.
The damn. Damn, dude.
Damn, dude.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed the creepypasta readings.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Have a nice Halloween. Go watch the
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Go watch our Let's Play of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yep.
And yeah, and all of our other Let's Plays too, by the way. Go and watch all of them.
Yeah, and go outside and go spook some people. Go trick or
Consensually.
treating.
Go
Yeah,
consensually
consensually go
spook
out
some people.
and spook some people. Go out to the street and spook them.
On that note, thanks so much everyone for tuning in. This has been episode 26
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Damn, it has been.
It has been. And we'll see you all in the next one for November.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.